Well, as Linda said, the Green Paper was really clear that young people with special educational needs and disabled young people are much more likely to have poor life outcomes in relation to getting a job, choosing who you live with, being part of your local community, and doing all of the things that other young people aspire to as they move into adulthood. So it's really clear about that, and that for certain groups of young people, such as people with learning disabilities or young people with mental health needs or autism, that can be much worse. And Chapter 4 in the Green Paper really set out change that it wanted to see during secondary school to 25, so particularly 14 to 25, but starting at secondary school. Changes that needed to happen to open up pathways to getting a job and a full life. And so the Department for Education has commissioned a number of different delivery programmes to support local areas to achieve this, to test out the Green Paper, some of the more radical things in the Green Paper, such as the 0 to 25 single assessment and plan, and to implement and start to be working towards this Green Paper. And it's one of the delivery programmes is Preparing for Adulthood, and that's the programme that we're talking to you about this morning. And the Preparing for Adulthood programme is going to focus on what needs to happen from secondary school to 25 to make sure that all young people have equal opportunities in terms of paid employment, independent living, community inclusion, good health, those sorts of outcomes. And we're working with all the other delivery partners to do that. It's being delivered in a partnership. We're really, really thrilled because we've got a partnership between National Development Team for Inclusion, which Linda and I are working for, Council for Disabled Children, and Helen Sanderson Associates. So we're really thrilled because that brings together some organisations that have been focusing on these outcomes for a long time, and brings together the expertise that was gathered through Getting Alive, Valuing Employment Now, person-centred transition planning, all the work that's gone on around braided funding to get a job and a full life, and also transition support programme that had that breadth across the whole country. So we're really excited to be able to bring that together in one place and pull out what needs to happen. And we want to do that with young people and their families. You know, it's absolutely essential that we build on the experience of young people and their families. People tell us that transition is bruising, it doesn't work, and it doesn't lead to these life outcomes. So we're really keen to work with young people and families to achieve that. What we're going to be doing, we've got 3 strands of work to the programme. One is collecting best practice so far and disseminating that through website, a bulletin, Facebook, Twitter, all the different ways of disseminating it, but also to collect new emerging information about what we're learning, about what helps people to get jobs and full lives. So that's one strand of work. The other strand of work is working in depth with some of the pathfinders that are focusing on transition. So there are 20 pathfinders, which is about 31 local authorities, and 10 of those are focusing on preparing for adult in depth. They really want to look at what happens during transition. All of the pathfinders are going to look at transition because you can't develop a 0 to 25 plan without covering transition, but there are 10, which is about 14 local authorities, that are going to look at that in depth and really drill down in terms of how do we deliver those pathways into jobs and full lives. So we're working in depth with them, helping them look at developing the single assessment and how you embed best practice from preparing for adulthood in that. And a letter's gone out to them, and Linda is working with them to work out what their needs are. And then the other strand of work is what we're calling wider support to other local authorities. So there are a lot of local authorities that wanted to be SEN pathfinders and didn't get it for various reasons. And so we want to make sure that we're sharing best practice with everyone across the country. That's something that we're contracted to do. A letter's gone out now to directors of children's services and adult services, asking people to find the strategic transition person so that we can talk to them about what they need. And we'll be delivering a range of cluster events around the country on particular areas. It might be, for example, helping local areas know what they need to do to set up supported internships like Project Search. It could be something about thinking about a single plan and embedding the best practice from person-centred transition planning, learning for living work, things like that in there. So a range of different things, and Charlotte from HSA is coordinating that at the moment. So I think perhaps one of the other things that is worth mentioning, really keen to work with young people and families and hear what works for them in terms of how we disseminate information. We are giving a particular emphasis to employment, and we know that that's challenging for some people. But I think what we've learnt from our work with the Getting Alive project is people with complex needs can get paid jobs. It can work very well for employers. There's a business need for that. And the main thing is getting the right support for the young person and for the business. But also, once you start to talk about employment, you have a very different conversation with family and a local area. So in Herefordshire, we had various people that were setting up social enterprises, selling local produce through the farmers market, and the connections they were getting to their community and the way they were viewed, and their families' sort of wealth of connections and people that they were coming into contact with was greatly enriched. So we are that's where we're coming from on employment. We're going to work very closely with children and adult sectors for exactly the reason that you mentioned, Andy, about what happens after 25. We've obviously come from backgrounds as well, from children's and adults, but we don't want another artificial shelf for 25. We have a website, www.preparingforadulthood.org.uk, and people can sign up for the bulletin. We've got 10, one of the things that we've done recently is we pulled together all of the people that had worked together on best practice around preparing for adulthood, and we've all the previous programmes we were asked to look at, and we've pulled out 10 top messages for local authorities, which we're going to use to steer the programme. So they're learning from our work with young people and families over the last 3 to 5 years, and they're on the website, and we're going to use them to help identify questions that local areas can ask in relation to each of those, so that they can see how they're doing. And we're designing a menu of support with local areas around those of what would work for people to develop in those areas. And we'll be working with them, with young people and families on that. We're on Twitter. Linda and I are going to try and get a lot better at this. But we're on Twitter, we are regularly tweeting, and we've also got a Facebook site, and Facebook's been really exciting because we're finding that families it's a way of connecting to family networks, and family networks telling us we're really keen to hear what young people and families think of the website. We want it to work for everyone, not just professionals in local areas. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and sign up for the bulletin on the website.